Hello everyone! In the Architecture Weekly 51 highlights, we have an answer to a question: should architects actually code? 6 steps to autoscaling on Kubernetes, and the art of writing amazing REST APIs, and many more in the follow-up section. The common problem for the architects is closing themselves in the thing called ivory tower. When they don't communicate with the team, they don't see real code and thus make suboptimal decisions. This is a recognized anti-pattern, and Gregor Hope, he wrote an amazing article explaining that actually the articles don't have to code on their own, and the lines of code that they will bring to the product does not have a lot of value. However, debugging a problem will bring them a lot of insights, and this is what's actually available for the architect, knowing what's new in their own system and making the proper conclusions. Everybody wants a performant yet cost-efficient solution with any container orchestrator. Also, Kubernetes can definitely give you that with autoscaling, but just enabling horizontal pod autoscaler won't cut it. You need to better understand your workload, performance baseline, some nuances about autoscaling, like right-sizing the pods, and performance baselines, like how many users a pod can handle before degradation occurs. This and actually many more in the Perficient blog. This is a fascinating read about what you need to be aware of to make your autoscaling on Kubernetes efficient. And the last highlight of today's Architecture Weekly is the art of writing amazing REST APIs. I bet that half of the internet APIs are actually RESTful or trying to be so. And probably the next API that you will design will be RESTful as well. However, coming up with a good API might be challenging. And in this article, Joy Eberts comes up with the best practices and advice on how to actually create the proper REST API. So she speaks about the resources, including the IDs and the responses of your APIs and other things. So follow the article and try to apply those advices in your work. I would say that this article in particular lacks something about versioning and how to upgrade the versions of your APIs and migrate the clients, but the article is good itself. Okay, time for the follow-up. You know what is the availability requirement for your service? If you do, how many nines are there? If it's 4 nines already, I bet you're not using a single region, but already went to a multi-regional setup. Well, this week, AWS published a good guide on how to understand if you need a multi-regional deployment in the first place, what you need to think of, like failover, data consistency, operation management, and more. So grab the article ASAP. Okay, once we started talking about AWS, we need to obviously touch the topic of infrastructure as a code. We already talked about that in the previous issue. Find a link here. In order to understand what infrastructure as a code is and what were the stages that we all went through, check out this introduction to infrastructure as a code. It will guide you through all the steps like manual deployment, scripted deployment, declarative approach, and component-based way of declaring your infrastructure. Very good read. So tons of data nowadays is a norm, like user requests, telemetry, IoT world, business analytics, and many more. We had to process a lot of data in our systems. The question though is still how to do that efficiently. Here I'm sharing an article about how to think about data ingestion, how to simplify that, and what challenges you're gonna face when you will try to set up one. Okay, and our favorite topic, speaking about microservices. Microservices promised us a lot, like velocity, granularity, deployment independence, low coupling, and many more. However, we also found ourselves with the problems of distributed systems, like synchronizing the state, inconsistency, performance problems, etc., etc. So here in the short article, Ted Newett reasoning that actually what we wanted were not microservices. We want clear boundaries and modules. So for the details, go and read a fascinating read by Ted. And as a proof of microservices problem, Wix has a nice post in their engineering blog. So they have like near 2000 microservices that speak to each other through Kafka. And what they found is that it is really difficult to troubleshoot a production issue fast when you don't understand what's happening in such a system. So they wrote a very detailed blog post on the practical tools and approaches that helps the issue. So first of all, they have a sidecar that adds an ID to every request, so it's traceable. Then they have tools for consumer log monitoring and many more. Next thing I want to share about Kafka is a post in Confluent blog by none other than Martin Kleppmann himself. So this article is about real-time integration of PostgreSQL and Kafka. When you need to write data to several systems, the naive approach is to write the logic right into your service. Also, it is simple, it also brings the problems of consistency. For example, one of your writes just breaks, so what do? Like roll back your previous write? That's a problem. So the article suggests that you better write the data right to the database in a transaction and then capture the data change with Kafka and then translate it to all the other systems that you want. As Kafka is reliable, then you will get a reliable solution for writing the data to many systems. And of course, can't leave you without a paper for a weekend. So this time it is about distributed state. Despite distributed state having their own benefits, they are very hardly achievable due to many problems like performance issues or inconsistency problems and many others. So this paper describes them all really well and in understandable manner, so go through it. And the last one for today, if you missed, I published a video on how do databases store the data on disk, what are slotted pages and all that stuff. Check out the YouTube video here. Okay, thank you very much. That's it for today. Thank you very much. That's it for the issue number 51. We're really close to the full year of a newsletter, and I perceive this as a huge achievement. Want to thank you all for reading, watching the blog, and following the Telegram channel. Thank you very much, and see ya next week.